Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Carly Perez, and I'm the Membership and Program Coordinator at DetentionWatch Network. And I'll be working as the point person throughout this course in collaboration with Silky Shaw. She's our Interim Executive Director and our Communications Director. She'll be joining us for future conversations, but right now she's on vacation. So first I want to get into the background of what is immigration detention. Immigration detention is when a person is jailed at any point throughout their immigration process. So this process includes people awaiting a decision on asylum applications, persons picked up and jailed with or without charges, and people pending immigration proceedings or after being ordered deported while Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or more commonly known as ICE, is actively trying to remove them. So in 1996, the U.S. really started to see an exponential expansion of the immigration detention system due to the passage of two laws under the Clinton administration. The first being the Anti-Terrorism and Effective Death Penalty Act, and the second being the Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act, or more commonly known as IRA. And both of these effectively increased the grounds upon which immigrants could be detained and deported. Two important provisions to note out of those laws was mandatory detention came out of that, which is detention without the chance to apply for bond and really takes away a judge's discretion. And then we also saw the expansion of the definition of aggravated felony. So for example, shoplifting is a misdemeanor in the criminal justice system, but within immigration context, shoplifting is considered an aggravated felony. So in response to the rapid growth of the system after the enactment of the 1996 laws, legal service providers and advocacy organizations came together and formed the DetentionWatch Network in 1997. So today, DWN is a national member-led network with individual and organizational members, and it's really expanded to have grassroots organizations as well, faith-based, and then as well as the legal service providers and advocacy organizations. We're about 200 members with a staff of 5, and we're based out of Washington, D.C. So right now our mission is really to expose and challenge the injustices of the immigration detention and deportation system and advocate for profound change that promotes the rights and dignities of all persons. And to expand a little bit about those injustices and the conditions within the immigration detention system. First, to say the structure of immigration detention is inherently unjust, as an immigration violation is a civil offense, not a crime. So it was never intended as punishment, but rather to ensure court appearances. But now it really has become very punishable and with deplorable conditions, such as we've had reports of people being served worm and maggot-infested food in detention facilities. Access to medical and mental health care is really terrible. There's been over 140 deaths which have occurred in detention, with at least 3 suicides just this past year. Access to legal resources is often non-existent, and unlike the criminal justice system, where legal counsel is required, 84% of immigrants go through detention without a lawyer. And lastly, another condition to really touch on is isolation. Almost all detention centers are in remote locations, and detention transfers are really prominent without regard for access to counsel or to families. So to give you an example, people detained in New York are often transferred first to New Jersey, and depending on their case, could be transferred again to Texas or Louisiana or to Alabama. So DWN's work is really focused on education, organizing, and advocacy efforts within 3 key policy priorities. The first being ending mandatory detention, which I touched on earlier and came out of 1996 laws, requiring that ICE detain certain categories of people without a bond hearing or any sort of individualized assessment. The second being cutting ties between the federal government and the private prison industry, which currently 50% of ICE detention beds are private, which results in the industry lobbying aggressively for laws and policies that lead to increases in the numbers of immigrants being detained. And lastly, our last big focus is eliminating the detention bed quota. And this is the issue that we really want to focus in on for the project. I'm actually going to see if I can do a screen share right now and show a video from one of our member organizations. So bear with me to see if I can do this correctly. Let's see here. Okay, I think we're good. Can everyone see my screen? Yes? Okay. I'm going to play a short video.
Our people and our children are not for sale.
Every year, over 400,000 people disappear and are bought and sold in the United States.
It's scary, really scary. Well, it's like a really bad nightmare. I want to wake up already. It's like I can't help anymore. I'm losing all my hair, on my teeth, everything. It's like you're alone.
3 major corporations lobby the U.S. government to guarantee their own profit.
We be locked up for 18, 19 hours a day.
Well, they wake us up at 4 in the morning, like the same routine every day. And well, we most of the time we just in the room.
This happens every day on American soil. It's called immigration detention, and it's the law. Congress mandates how many immigrants must be locked up at all times. 34,000.
This is an unprecedented mandate for law enforcement, as no other law enforcement agencies have a quota for the number of people that they must keep in jail.
People are traded between for-profit prisons like commodities, isolating them from their families and communities. The Obama administration has detained more people than any other administration in history, and you are paying for it. $5 billion taxpayer dollars per year.
It's like really frustrating to be in jail and not knowing nothing about your kids and family.
We're very scared. We're very worried because, we don't have a way to connect with another person.
I would like the people to have, to listen to us. We're human. We deserve, to be with our kids and family because they're the ones suffering right now. I would like to be with my babies and show them that there's another way in life. I'm praying for another opportunity.
You and I, as citizens, have the obligation to shape the debates of our time, not only with the votes we cast, but with the voices we lift in defense of our most ancient values and enduring ideals.
Okay. Let's see, can you all see me now again? Okay, great. So that video was, like I said, from one of our member organizations, Community Initiatives for Visiting Immigrants in Confinement. They're a national network. So we really want to focus in on eliminating this detention bed quota. This detention bed quota came out of 2007, and it's a congressionally mandated quota which arbitrarily requires 34,000 people be detained daily. This comes from appropriations language that ICE and some members of Congress just happen to interpret this way. It's literally a line within the language. So the bed quota has undoubtedly led to prolonged detention for individuals who could have been released, and also any reform to the detention system via immigration reform will have little effect, if any, on the bed quota. So just to touch on the ways in which people are being detained to reach this 34,000 daily number is by ICE targeting and infiltrating immigrants in a number of public and private spaces. So these include everyday locations such as the workplace, their homes, streets, buses, trains, the DMV, points of entry, and etc. ICE makes their arrests through federal, state, and local programs that vary from training state and local officers to act as immigration enforcers, to cross-referencing the FBI database, to identifying people with a prior criminal conviction, and a heavily enforced border, which current legislation is only proposing to further militarize. So we're really excited to work with the Codesign studio, and our project goal is to end up with something that we can really visualize, humanize, and disseminate. We're hoping to connect the injustices of the detention system, focused on the issue of eliminating the bed quota, with the stories of those who are directly impacted by it every single day. So we're looking for students who really have a focus in web and graphic design, as well as students who are interested in strategic communications. And right now what we're envisioning is a multimedia project that is interactive and ideally bilingual in both English and Spanish, and really aimed at educating a broad audience that has no prior knowledge of immigration detention, with an ask for a call to action. So yeah, we're very excited.
So I should have handed these out earlier, but these are handouts from the organization. So there's 3. So take 3 and then pass them.
People have questions?
I just wanted to know how long people are in the detention center. I don't know if I just missed that.
I would depend how long people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really depends on individual cases. I think there's okay. For how long people decide or try to fight their case, as well as this mandate that's forcing ICE to keep people within these detention beds, within the detention centers. So there's cases of people actually being in detention for years. There's cases of people being in detention for several months. It really just varies from person to person.
Carly, so you went over a lot of information quickly, and I think a lot of times for people who are first hearing this, could you repeat or talk a little bit about the scale of the detention and deportation system in the U.S. right now? So, like, how many people are in detention right now, and how many people per year are being rounded up, detained, and deported under the current administration?
Right, and I apologize if I spit that out too fast. It's a lot. So currently there's over 250 detention centers nationwide. DHS just came out with their numbers, I believe last week, for 2012, that nearly 500,000 people were deported. So it really is just this massive system that only continues to grow, and really Detention Watch Network stands on immigration reform right now is that any reforms that are being brought to the table have a really strong border militarization piece, and not only to say border but also interior as well, and all that's going to do is really increase the amount of people that are being put within detention centers and then deported.
Thank you. Do people have other questions? One more minute.
Well, I want to ask that if we have detention system canceled, what can we do? What should we do to the illegal immigrants? Yeah, I'm curious about that.
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
You asked if there were no detention system, what would we do with illegal immigrants, was the question.
Right. So there's community-based programs or alternatives that we really advocate for, where people are able to remain within their communities as contributing members of society, remain with their families, and then would report to their officer for their court date.
Thank you.
Do we have one more second? Yeah, I think people also, again, aren't necessarily familiar, especially people from outside the United States, with the privatization of the prison system and the detention system here. So you definitely did mention it, but maybe you could repeat the information about private for-profit companies running and profiting off of the detention and carceral system here.
Yeah, so this is one of our priorities and areas of focus, but 50% of ICE detention beds are private, which results in this massive industry of really aggressive lobbying for laws and policies that are just continuing to push people within the system. So it really has become a for-profit industry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I know it's really a new issue for a lot of folks, and I obviously have a lot of materials that I can provide, and really excited to have further conversations and just really dive into this issue and see what we can produce together.